public, and probably usually the only public that's here because of work days. Well, first of all, I wanted to say, Mr. Hoffman, I know you mentioned that nuclear power plants should be considered national assets. Of course, the flip side to that is they are also considered national liabilities, be it from natural disasters, human error, technical failure, parts, etc., terrorism. So it's also a big liability. And I don't know how many here might have felt it, but on May the 21st, we had a 3.2 earthquake. And this time it was located at Powhatan and Amelia. Another fault that was previously unknown of. So we're dealing with at least 3 faults now since actually the plant was built. It was built on an inactive one, supposedly. My son and I were in the kitchen that evening, and we heard a rumbling and then a roll through our house. And mind you, I am in western Henrico, so pretty far from Powhatan and Amelia border. So what is happening, we'll talk about, as Jerry was talking about, the concern of the public. Well, yeah, we have concern because we have concern not only for the 2 nuclear reactors that are already at North Anna that was built on the fault line. The design basis was exceeded during the 5.8 earthquake in 2011. But now the alarm's ringing that we would think that Dominion would go forward with a 3rd reactor at North Anna. Bad location, bad idea. And I wanted to mention that the NRC, because I attend those meetings, has stated it is not their job to pass out potassium iodide in the 10-mile radius. And it's not Dominion's job. It's actually our government's job to make sure people have it. A lot of people in the 10-mile radius do not have it. The American Thyroid Association goes further and says that people from 0 to 50 miles should have potassium iodide on hand in their home. We're not even compliant. These things were brought up in 2001 on the terrorist attack we had in New York. So dragging a lot of feet here. And Mr. Christian, I realize there is no free lunch when it comes to any energy source. But unfortunately, with nuclear, as we see what's unfolding in Japan, this ongoing disaster is a heck of a lot worse than anything else that could happen with any other windmill or solar panel. And not only that, but Dominion website for their waste heat treatment center says that as designed, the water coming out is no more than 14 degrees hotter. That's not true. I watch it. I've seen it go up into the 20s. So even if y'all's plan for Unit 3 is to have a cooling tower, we still have a heat problem. But this is a problem around the United States at all nuclear power plants because they're pumping out tons of heat, either through condensation or also through the water and the cooling system. So that's a problem. The idea of the small modular reactors, Babcock and Wilcox has tried to sell it. Nobody wants it because I think there's another company that's doing the SMRs. But frankly, the public doesn't want to have their neighborhoods dotted with mini reactors. It's still going to produce waste, but it's going to be contained for 60 years. Being underground doesn't help if you have movement of the ground. That's not a solution at all. And mind you, the head of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission actually thinks it's laughable. It's not going to happen. It's just ridiculous. And so ultimately, as the public is concerned, if we're going to be nuclear anything in Virginia, we should be the ones coming up with solutions to waste storage, waste management, security. Not necessarily because we're not ready to go with the new ideas of these reactors that utilize and eat up the waste and stuff. We're not there. And so what we have is we have here in Virginia 2 reactors in a seismic zone, which we shouldn't build anymore. The other 2 reactors in Surrey that's on land that is sinking and the tides are rising. I mean, come on. We're going to get stuck with all the waste we produce. There's not a solution. We're going to be like San Onofre. The company will leave and they're stuck with the waste sitting there for years with less security The public's very concerned, and even though I'm like one of the only few publics here, believe me, there's a lot of people that are concerned for good reasons. I mean, I'm just your average mom, and I do a lot of reading, and I listen. So it's an issue. I mean, right now, as we sit here, we've got Superfund sites around the country and trying to mitigate old uranium mines and etc. We have trying to mitigate all the issues and plumes and everything coming off from Hanford in Washington State. We've got Savannah Riverside plumes leaving their tanks. And then look at WIP in New Mexico. Are we ever going to be able to use that again? I mean, you know, it's just one after, because what, kitty litter, they were improperly packed, possible 500 barrels. Some of them made it to Texas. And then, of course, the ongoing Treasure Island, where people are they're now looking into radioactive, you know, hazardous material that people are living on top of. So, frankly, when it comes to nuclear, there's so many solutions that need to be looked at and made and come up with, just like what the mitigating problems in Japan. I'm trying to figure out, what do we do? I don't want to see Virginia to become that. I mean, it's just out of hand. We want to see solutions. So yeah, education's number one. One thing I see this group that can do it is going to do promoting more education, smart minds to come up with these solutions. Otherwise, promoting nuclear for more nuclear reactors in a seismic zone, I can tell you the public's going to say no way. Already. Doesn't matter that they're the most dangerous form of energy, the most expensive form of energy, and really they're dirty because you have to go mining uranium. Which, by the way, Southside Virginia, we beat its ugly head down last year at the General Assembly because nobody wants it. We don't want to be stuck with 28 million tons of radioactive rubble down there where our farmers and our dairies are next to the waterways. Look what's happening with coal ash. I mean, there is a price tag for all energy, but unfortunately what we've seen with nuclear between Chernobyl, TMI Chernobyl, and the ongoing Fukushima is we don't want it. We want clean solutions. And I know, just as most of y'all here, or at least my age or older, we were born into a time where color TV was just coming into being, there was a corded phone. We can and we can move forward with cleaner solutions, but please come up with mitigating solutions on how to deal with the waste, better containers, which y'all are already doing. Obviously, Areva's gotten the, you know, I guess the new cast for high burnout fuel. I mean, but the idea of advancing more reactors in seismic zones, creating more of the same waste, I mean, ultimately, I am not an expert, but if I, simple me, can figure these things out, I'm sure the public at large is pretty much on its case too. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you.
An Institute for Public Policy in Virginia. We're holding a series of energy seminars. I think the next one's going to be June 23rd. We're not going to focus on nuclear then, but we want to be very supportive of what the Commission and Consortium is trying to do in moving nuclear energy forward as one of the most viable, lowest cost alternatives to those other energy forms that emit carbon emissions. It's clean, it's green, safe, never had a nuclear accident in the United States with the release of radiation. And we want to be involved with the consortium in moving nuclear forward in Virginia and doing what we can to help.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Don't include the front end of mining, milling, processing, and all the things in front, and then the back end of forever waste storage. I'm sorry, that is a hoax, and that is just honestly not true. It's not clean and green. Only when it's burning, if it mysteriously, somehow the uranium gets in there by itself. I mean, that's just totally not true.
We very much appreciate. Do we have any other comments from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Very well. So moved. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen.